California just lost more people in 6 months than it did during the gold rush. New York? Empty apartment buildings everywhere. Illinois? Falling apart. And this is just the beginning. Something is happening across America that hasn't occurred in nearly a century. Millions are abandoning entire states. Not because they want to, because they have to. I'm talking about teachers who can't afford rent in the cities where they teach. Families who have lived in the same neighborhood for 3 generations, now forced to leave. Retirees who saved their entire lives, watching their nest eggs evaporate because of property taxes and insurance costs. By the end of this video, you'll know if your state is on the chopping block, where the smart money is moving, and whether you should be packing your bags right now. Because 2026, it's going to get worse. Let's get into it. Here's what nobody's talking about. Between January and June 2025, America's population dropped by 1.5 million people. That's a city the size of Philadelphia. Gone. Vanished in 6 months. But this isn't about immigration alone. Americans are fleeing their own states. The American Enterprise Institute found that domestic migration has hit crisis levels. People are leaving high-cost states so fast that some cities can't fill the vacant apartments. Landlords are offering 2 months free rent, 3 months. Some are just slashing prices by 30% and still can't find tenants. Housing costs, taxes, natural disasters, insurance rates spiraling out of control. These aren't just problems anymore. They're evacuation triggers. People are doing the math and realizing they can't win. They can't get ahead. They can't even break even. So they're leaving. And they're not looking back. So which states are hemorrhaging people? And which ones are about to collapse? I'm going to count down the top 5 states losing people the fastest. And trust me, number 2 is going to shock you. Let's start with number 5. Colorado was the dream destination a decade ago. Mountains, fresh air, legal marijuana, tech jobs, ski towns turning into startup hubs. People were flooding in from California, Texas, everywhere. Not anymore. Denver's tech sector just went through mass layoffs. Companies that were hiring like crazy in 2021 and 2022, they're laying off entire departments. Housing that used to feel like a good deal compared to California, now unaffordable. The median home price in Denver hit $625,000. In Boulder, try $850,000. Insurance rates through the roof. Wildfires have torched entire communities. Insurance companies have either pulled out of Colorado completely or quadrupled their premiums. Homeowners are getting letters saying their coverage is being dropped. No explanation, just dropped. Analysts are predicting home prices could drop 13 to 16% by the end of 2026. That's not a correction. That's a collapse. That's underwater mortgages. That's people who bought in 2022 watching their equity disappear. People who moved to Colorado for the lifestyle are realizing they can't afford to stay. The mountains are beautiful, but you can't pay rent with a view. And when the jobs dry up and the housing costs stay high, people leave. Illinois is the state nobody talks about, but everyone should be watching. Chicago peaked in 1950, 75 years ago. Since then, steady decline, year after year after year. Property taxes are crushing homeowners, some of the highest in the nation. We're talking effective rates of 2.3% in Cook County. That means on a $300,000 home, you're paying $6,900 a year just in property taxes. Every year, forever. And those taxes, they keep going up. Because the population is shrinking, which means the tax base is shrinking, which means they raise taxes on the people who stay, which makes more people leave. It's a death spiral. Crime concerns in urban areas aren't helping. I'm not talking about fear-mongering. I'm talking about real businesses closing, real families moving out, real neighborhoods changing. Young professionals are bailing to Wisconsin, Minnesota, the Carolinas. 2026 forecast, Illinois will lose 2 to 3% of its professional workforce. That doesn't sound like much until you realize that's doctors, lawyers, engineers, accountants. The people who pay the most in taxes. When the workers leave, the tax base collapses. When the tax base collapses, taxes go up. When taxes go up, more people leave. See the pattern? Illinois is stuck in a cycle it can't break, and 2026 is going to make it worse. New York is bleeding quietly. Nobody wants to admit it. Politicians definitely won't say it, but the numbers don't lie. Rochester has a 0.45 exodus ratio. Translation: for every person moving in, more than two are moving out. That's not migration. That's evacuation. Long Island? Same story. Entire neighborhoods are aging out with nobody moving in to replace them. Schools are closing. Shopping centers are half empty. Combined state and property taxes are unbearable. New York State income tax tops out at 10.9%. Add New York City income tax on top of that, you're at 14.776% for high earners. Then add property taxes, sales taxes, tolls, fees, surcharges. Retirees are fleeing to Florida. Young professionals are heading to North Carolina and Tennessee, states with zero income tax. The math is simple. A $100,000 salary in New York feels like $65,000 after taxes and rent. You're living paycheck to paycheck, making six figures. That same salary in Nashville, you're living comfortably, you're saving money, you're buying a house. And it's not just about money, it's about quality of life. It's about not spending 2 hours commuting every day. It's about having a backyard. It's about not hearing sirens at 2 a.m. 2026 will be brutal for New York. The people who can leave are leaving. The people who can't leave are stuck watching their neighborhoods decline. Now here's number two, and this is going to surprise you. Wait, Florida? The state everyone's moving to? Yes, and here's why this matters more than you think. For the first time in a decade, Tampa Bay made the move-out list. The city that was ranked as the hottest housing market in America just 3 years ago is now seeing people leave. Property insurance has tripled in some counties. I'm not exaggerating. Policies that cost $1,200 a year in 2020 are now $3,600. Some people are paying $3,600, $6,000 or more, on top of their mortgage, on top of property taxes, on top of HOA fees. Hurricane risks are no longer theoretical, they're annual disasters. Hurricane Ian, Hurricane Idalia, Hurricane Helene, each one causing billions in damage, each one making insurance companies more terrified, each one making homeowners realize they're one storm away from financial ruin. Housing prices that tripled from 2020 to 2023 are now stagnating. Homes that were selling in a weekend are sitting on the market for months. Sellers are cutting prices. Buyers are walking away. People who moved to Florida for affordability are realizing it's not affordable anymore. The Florida dream was always about escaping high taxes and enjoying sunshine. But when your insurance costs more than your property taxes used to, and you're one hurricane away from losing everything, the dream dies. The Sun Belt migration is reversing. Slowly, but it's happening. Those with money, they're getting out before the insurance crisis gets worse. They're selling while they still can. They're moving to the mountains, to the Midwest, to places where natural disasters don't threaten them every hurricane season. Florida will still attract retirees and snowbirds, but the young families who moved there thinking they'd found paradise, they're having second thoughts. And now the state that takes the crown for the biggest exodus in America. California is the undisputed champion of people packing up and leaving. Los Angeles leads the nation in move-outs for the fourth straight year. Not third, fourth. Year after year after year, more people are leaving LA than any other city in America. San Francisco follows, then San Diego, then Sacramento, then the Inland Empire. Median home price? Over $750,000 in most metros. In San Francisco, try $1.2 million for a median home. In Los Angeles, $900,000. These aren't mansions. These are 3-bedroom houses built in 1965 that need new roofs. Property taxes are climbing 6% annually thanks to reassessments and special assessments. State income taxes max out at 13.3%, the highest in the nation. Cost of living increases that make your salary feel worthless. Gas costs $5.50 a gallon. Groceries cost 40% more than the national average. Car insurance, homeowners insurance, utilities, everything is more expensive. Californians aren't leaving because they hate California. They love California. They grew up there. Their families are there. Their friends are there. They're leaving because they can't afford it. Here's a real example. A family of four living in Los Angeles. Combined household income of $150,000. Sounds comfortable, right? After taxes, they're taking home about $100,000. Rent on a three-bedroom apartment, $3,500 a month. That's $42,000 a year. Daycare for two kids, $2,500 a month. That's another $30,000 a year. We're already at $72,000, and we haven't paid for food, car payments, insurance, utilities, gas, or anything else. That same family moves to Austin, same household income. After taxes, they're taking home $120,000. Three-bedroom house with a yard, $2,200 a month mortgage. That's $26,400 a year. Daycare, $1,800 a month. That's $21,600 a year. They're saving $24,000 a year just by moving. Plus, they own a house instead of renting an apartment. A family moving from Los Angeles to Austin saves $100,000 plus in housing costs alone. Not over a decade, immediately. First year, Texas, Nevada, Arizona, Florida. These states are absorbing California's middle class by the millions. The wealthy are staying. The poor can't afford to leave. The middle class is being squeezed out. And 2026, the bleeding accelerates because housing prices aren't dropping, taxes aren't going down. California is pricing out the people who built it. Those are the top five. But Arizona, Washington State, and Nevada are all teetering on the edge for the same reasons. Insurance crises, housing corrections, rising costs, job markets cooling off. Washington State had the tech boom, Amazon, Microsoft, all the startups. Then came the layoffs, thousands of tech workers getting pink slips. And when you're paying $2,800 a month for a one-bedroom apartment in Seattle, losing your job means you're moving. Fast. Arizona had the retiree boom and the remote work boom. Then summer temperatures hit 118 degrees for weeks. Then insurance companies started pulling out. Then electricity bills doubled because you're running AC 24/7 just to survive. Nevada thought the California migration would last forever. It didn't. Las Vegas is cooling. Reno is cooling. The casinos are still there, but the housing market is correcting hard. But here's the question nobody's asking. Where is everyone going? Because this many people leaving means millions of people arriving somewhere else. North Carolina has been the #1 inbound search destination for 6 straight years. 6 years. That's not a trend. That's a fundamental shift. Why North Carolina? No state income tax on most residents. Median home price, $331,800. That's affordable. That's attainable. That's a house with a yard and good schools for the price of a one-bedroom condo in Los Angeles. Strong job growth. Charlotte is becoming a banking hub. Raleigh-Durham has the research triangle with tech, pharma, and universities. Asheville has tourism and remote workers. Wilmington has the coast. 4 seasons without the brutal winters. You get fall colors, you get mild winters, you get beach access and mountains within a few hours. South Carolina has the best inbound to outbound ratio in America, 1.97. For every person leaving, 2 are arriving. Myrtle Beach is the #1 move to city in the country. Why South Carolina? Even cheaper than North Carolina. Lower property taxes, growing job market, golf courses and beaches everywhere. Southern hospitality that actually means something. Tennessee, 0 income tax. Nashville is booming. Chattanooga has gigabit internet and outdoor recreation. Knoxville has the university in Smoky Mountains. Memphis has FedEx and a low cost of living. Texas, still pulling in residents despite rising costs. No state income tax. Strong job market. Multiple major metros to choose from. Austin for tech, Dallas for corporate, Houston for energy and medical, San Antonio for military and tourism. But here's the surprise. Wisconsin, Mississippi, and Minnesota saw massive spikes in net inbound searches, up 79%, 55%, and 40% compared to 2024. Why? People are realizing you don't have to move to the South to escape high costs. The Midwest is back. Housing is affordable. Jobs are stable. Communities are strong. You get 4 real seasons. People are friendly. Crime is lower. Milwaukee, Madison, the Twin Cities, even smaller cities like Duluth and Rochester. They're seeing migration they haven't seen in decades. The Midwest was written off as the Rust Belt. Now, it's the Value Belt. All right, here's what's coming. 5 predictions for 2026 that you need to hear. Prediction number 1, national population decline. Migration could drop so low that America experiences its first population decline in nearly a century. This has never happened outside of wartime or pandemic. But with immigration down and birth rates at record lows, we could actually see the U.S. population shrink in 2026. That has massive economic implications. Fewer workers, fewer consumers, fewer taxpayers. This isn't fear-mongering. This is math. Prediction number 2, housing price crashes in high-cost states. California, New York, Colorado expect 8 to 16% declines in specific markets. When demand collapses, prices follow. Sellers will panic. Buyers will wait. Prices will drop. Some people will be underwater on mortgages they took out in 2022 and 2023. This is already starting in pockets of San Francisco and Denver. 2026 will spread it wider. Prediction number 3, tax flight accelerates. Zero-income tax states will see continued inbound traffic. Tennessee, Texas, Florida, despite their problems, they're still cheaper than the alternatives. High earners are doing the math and realizing they can save $30,000, $50,000, even $100,000 a year just by moving. That's generational wealth. That's retirement security. That's college funds for kids. People are going to move. Prediction number 4, the affordable states get expensive. North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, these states won't stay affordable forever. As millions relocate, housing costs will spike. We're already seeing it. Homes that sold for $280,000 in Charlotte 3 years ago are now $425,000. The advantage shrinks every month. The window is closing. If you're thinking of moving to one of these states, 2026 is your last chance to get in before prices explode. Prediction number 5, mid-sized cities boom. Greenville, Durham, Chattanooga, Fort Collins. These mid-sized cities will explode as remote workers and young families seek affordability and community. Not massive metros with traffic and crime. Not tiny towns with nothing to do. Mid-sized cities with culture, jobs, safety, and affordability. These cities are the sweet spot. And 2026 will be their year. This isn't speculation. This is what the data is screaming. So what do you do with this information? How does this affect you? If you're in California, New York, or Illinois, your home value might be at risk. Your state will face tax revenue shortfalls, which means higher taxes to make up the difference. The services will get worse and the costs will go up. Ask yourself, can you afford to stay? Not just financially, but emotionally. Is it worth the stress? Is it worth the struggle? Because it's not getting better anytime soon. If you're in North Carolina, Tennessee, or South Carolina, congratulations, you're in a growth state. But population growth means traffic, crowding, rising housing costs, and higher property taxes to pay for new infrastructure. The affordable paradise you moved to? It won't last. Infrastructure can't keep up. Schools will be overcrowded. Roads will be jammed. The charm that attracted you will fade. Enjoy it while it lasts and prepare for change. If you're thinking of moving, 2026 is your window. Once these affordable states hit capacity, housing costs will spike. Buy now before the market corrects upward. Lock in your mortgage rate. Lock in your location. Because in 2 years, that $330,000 house will be $450,000. And you'll have missed your chance. If you own investment property, high exodus states are risky long-term. Why would you buy rental property in a state losing population? Vacancy rates will climb, rents will stagnate or drop, your property value will decline. Inbound migration states are safer bets, for now. But do your homework. Don't buy at the peak. Don't assume growth lasts forever. Markets correct. The great exodus is reshaping America. States are losing people, regions are emptying out, and 2026 will accelerate this faster than anyone expects. This hasn't happened in nearly 100 years. Not since the Dust Bowl, not since the Great Migration. This is a fundamental reshaping of where Americans live and why. The states that don't adapt will die. The states that attract people will thrive. It's that simple. If this analysis helped you, subscribe to Discover Cities. We break down the housing market data that mainstream media won't touch. We tell you what's really happening, not what politicians want you to believe. Drop a comment. What state are you in? Are you staying or leaving? I read every single one. I want to hear your story. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.